Hey there! Welcome to Product Marketing Genius. I'm your host, Nitin Karthik. As Director of Product Marketing, I've always found that real world case studies are the true litmus test for the effectiveness of any product marketing strategy. And that is why on this show, we dive into the minds of industry titans as well as rising stars, unpacking their expertise in action packed episodes that showcase the power of product marketing through real world case studies. And my friends, today we are joined by product marketing genius Kirsten Jepson, recognized as a top 100 product marketing thought leader by the Product Marketing Alliance. Kirsten has helped drive over 150 product launches. She's been part of 10 major acquisitions and even helped make an IPO happen. She's passionate about bringing together sales, marketing, product, and other teams to achieve synergy, direction, and growth. Kirsten's experience is in an industry marketing as well as content marketing and product management. And that is what has led her to become a product marketing expert. Over her career, Kirsten has had the opportunity to lead teams and learn from incredibly talented colleagues and work with inspiring professionals from all across the globe. One of her favorite sayings is, the present moment used to be the unimaginable future. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kirsten. Kirsten, it's an absolute honor. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Nitin. I'm so happy to be here. And you are right. There is nothing I enjoy more than talking about product marketing.
That's right. So, talking about product marketing, we promised our audience that we would dive into a case study, and Kirsten will use the ABC framework. So, we'll talk about the antecedents or the challenges prior. We'll talk about the behaviors or the actions that you took, and we'll talk about the conclusion, how that case study played out. So, with that, Kirsten, pick a situation from your career, from your experience, and tell us what were the antecedents, what were the challenges prior.
Great. So, what I thought I would talk about today is the tipping point for creating a central repository, content repository. This is a really common problem for fast growing, mid sized organizations, even larger organizations. In my case, we were growing really quickly. So it becomes very obvious that a repository is needed when content is being distributed from people versus a system of record. So some symptoms include relying on one person's knowledge, people always being contacted, trying to locate content, or if the content starts to be outdated. Other danger signs include version control issues, document confusion, who owns the document. Plus, users get really frustrated because they can't find what they need.
Yeah, I think in a lot of companies and a lot of organizations, being able to find information, that is key. It's almost like, Kirsten, we live in an era of data deluge where there's so much data, so much information, and it's like finding that is the challenge. And so I really love the topic. So we understand the challenge, the antecedents. Let's talk a little bit, Kirsten, about the behaviors. Tell us about some of the actions that you took to address this challenge.
Absolutely. So the decisions made in creating this center depend a lot on various factors. What is the content strategy? What are the design preferences? What sort of technical expertise is available? And there are several great platforms available, but the steps that I'm going to go through in a second here are really platform agnostic. This is about the strategy behind. That's really what we had to establish. So think platform agnostic. So here we go. In step one, we identified the different types of content that we needed to store and manage. So some examples include blog posts, landing pages, social media, even more importantly, sales sheets, sales decks, and so on. In step two, we needed to determine a governance for adding, editing, and then updating the content. So for example, we had to determine, would the database be editable by one person? In my case, I prefer product marketing taking on that role. or would any area be able to add new content? So those are some of the decisions and steps. Step 3, define the attributes or fields that describe each content type. Design the structure and relationships for your content types. So tagging items. It was important to understand also the user behavior or how content would be searched for. So some examples of that, including title, author, topics, dates published, and then also what type of design would we use, tables, collections, references, and so on. So those were all decisions that we made along the way before moving to step 4. We decided how we wanted to display this content in our website, in our case, our repository. A lot of solutions also allow for an app. So some examples of those include templates being made available, what were the dynamic elements that were there, how are we going to filter, and then one important thing is providing a user system so the users that were accessing the content could provide feedback on how much they were using the content, did they like it, that sort of thing. So one extra element that gave us a very hands-on user system. And then the final step, determining the integration and migration of the content from other sources or platforms. All this content that we talked about existed out there, so we needed to migrate it to the platform that we decided on. So for example, we worked through determining access to the content from Salesforce. Could people use Salesforce to add on a piece of content before sending an email? And then also figuring out what technical area would support the integration of that data, because often it took a technical person to help with that. And then figuring out how systems would be updated. Would that have to be facilitated? And a lot of that had to do with our platform of choice. So those were the steps that we went through in order to get to creating a content repository.
Wow. What a methodical 5-step process. I love it. Love it. See, this shows system thinking. I love it. So we've talked, Kirsten, about the antecedents. We've talked about some of the behaviors. Now let's talk about the conclusion. So now you have this repository. Tell us, how did that play out?
Sure. So this repository became the place, or this platform became the place that we put all things product marketing related. We called it the CKC, or the Content Knowledge Center. The sales enablement team, by the way, was very crucial in training new sales members where to go and how to access this information. They were really vital partners in the launch of the platform. Eventually, other sections were added for strategy documents and then for marketing communication documents as well. Now, honestly, it took some time to break old habits because people were used to going to people to get this information. But between product marketing and other areas, we were really persistent in referring people to the repository. This really lightened product marketing's load significantly. Team members got what they wanted much faster, and the risk of losing content was reduced pretty significantly. So honestly, better all around. Everybody was much happier once it was in place, and they returned to new habits, or they started new habits.
Wow, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Love it. Love it, Kirsten. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things that you mentioned for the audience. This is almost like you created a sort of a Google within your own team or your own organization. And if we think about Google, one of the reasons why Google is so successful, especially in search, they don't create the content. They just organize the content, right? And that is the key. That is the key, because there's so much content. Organizing it is really the key. And so I love your example, because this is something that I think a lot of product marketers in the audience can take to heart and maybe implement with their own teams and their own organizations. Wonderful. Thank you, Kirsten. I think that's been excellent. Tell us, Kirsten, where can people find more about you and what's next for you?
Oh, I love to connect on LinkedIn. So please feel free to go link to LinkedIn and shoot me an invite. And I also have a website, www.kjepsonconsulting.com. And I would love to hear from everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Kirsten. So, folks, again, that's payjepsonconsulting.com. We'll include that in the show notes, and definitely hit up Kirsten on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Kirsten, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the conversation. My friends, armed with that knowledge, onward and upward.